But Lisa, tell us again, just this ordeal. Is it hard to believe you're back? Are you pinching yourself?
It's hard to believe we're back. 25 and a half hours of travel, but I'm just glad we're here with our 4 new wonderful children, and glad to be back finally to see our 2 boys. So they're at home waiting for us, so we'll be able to have them all meet finally. So that's a nice thing.
Had you known that this ordeal was going to happen, would you have done this anyway?
Yes, absolutely. No doubt about it. My husband will tell you the same thing.
How did you keep going through all of this, Lisa? And I asked Don the same thing.
What did he say?
He said a lot of it was, just the faith and you two being married all these years. And
Yes.
with one of you's up, the other picks you up.
That's basically it. He's right on, because I would get kind of emotional, and he was always my rock, and he would pick me up, and then he would get a little agitated with the process, and I would say, you know what, if it's meant to be, it'll happen. And so we just pick each other up.
But as Don said, and you agreed, you weren't leaving until you had the kids with you.
That's right. That's right. In fact, at one point in time, they had said we could leave them in a shelter and come home.
Yes.
And they're like, no.
That isn't going to happen.
That wasn't even an option.
The way this started, this will be my last question. You originally, Angela was here last summer for 3 months.
Yes.
And at that point, you felt like the Lord was leading on your heart to adopt her.
Yes.
Well, what happened after that?
Then what happened is we went back to the orphans come into New York City, and then like several of them, like 50 to 100. I'm not sure the number, but they come in, and then they're dispersed throughout the United States to different families, just to be hosted and maybe adopted at some point.
Is that how Angela came to you guys?
Yes,
Okay.
that's how Angela came to us. And then when we took her back to New York after the summer was over to go back to Ukraine, we met Natalie. And Natalie and I made like an instant connection. And we're like, so she seemed a little down, and I said, what's wrong, Natalie? And she said, I don't know if I'm going to be adopted. So we made some phone calls, and we said we would like to adopt her and her sister, if that's possible, and they gave us the green light, and so that's how it happened. And then the way we found out about the brother is when we were in Alexandria on our appointment, they said, oh, by the way, did you know they have a little brother? And in Ukraine, if you adopt like the oldest sibling, you have to adopt all siblings underneath that child. And so that's how we found out about Roman.
Now, how are they related? Angela, is she related to any of the others?
No.
It's Natalie?
Natalie and Tatiana and Roman are all siblings.
They're siblings.
Yes.
And so when you went there initially, in other words, so after Angela was here this summer, you decided you wanted to adopt her? Then?
Yes.
And then we went to New York City, and did Angela know Natalie?
Yes, they were all best friends at the orphanage.
So they were from the same orphanage?
Yes.
And then they went back and they all gathered together in New York?
Yeah, and they're like, maybe we can all be sisters. And we had already been thinking the same thing. And so we had been, communicating via phone, and we said, how would you girls like to be sisters?
This was in New York when you said that?
Yeah, well, no, this was after we got back from New York, and we had made the phone calls.
To Ukraine.
Yes, and to find out that they were not going to be adopted, because you don't want to step on anybody's toes. And they were so excited. Yes, we want to be sisters.
And that was like September, October?
Yes.
Then you went there in November, right?
Yes.
For what? Just initial paperwork?
Yes, and initial, kind of like their SRS department, they have to deem us
Worthy.
worthy.
They check you out.
Yes.
And then that went clear through. Then you
Yes.
guys, and then you came back here for the holidays. And
Yes.
Went back in
For a
February,
quarter.
and that was where everything happened.
Yes.
And here we are. Okay.
Here we are.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, we're glad to have you back.
Yeah, we're glad to be back. It's nice to meet you, Phil.
Nice to meet you too.